So it's a great question. What happened at 4.3? 4.3 wasn't something that I could lecture on. It was just using for loops and while loops and figuring out what's going to happen. Doing things like with strings. You know how we were searching how many times one string occurs in another string? That was 4.3, but it wasn't like I was going to lecture, here's how you do this. We just practiced and did those things. So maybe time will tell that I should have lectured on it, but I didn't. Anyway, today, here we go. Nested iteration. Nested iteration is when you have a loop inside of a loop. And in this case, I don't like that font. So when you have nested iteration, the inner loop has to finish its whole thing before the outer loop can continue. So you have an outer loop, you have an outer variable, and then you hop into this inner loop. The whole inner loop has to get satisfied before you're out of that inner loop, and then you're back at the outer loop. I think it's intuitively obvious, but we'll look at a couple examples. So here's an example. How many stars are going to get printed when I run this code? So let's look at it. We have an outer for loop, int I equals 0, I less than 5, go up by 1. Then we have an inner for loop, j equals 0, j less than 3, j go up by 1. And then we're printing 1 star each time we're on the inside loop. Anyone want to make a guess? 15 is correct. So when I is 0, you come in and you do this whole for loop, which involves printing 3 stars. 0, 1, 2. J will be 0, J will be 1, J will be 2. And then I is 1, and then we run the whole inside loop. And then I is 2, we run the whole inside loop, and so on. So when I run it, it's kind of hard to count 15 real quick, but that's 15 stars. One thing we could do that might help you visualize it is if I print I here. Let's see what happens. So I is 0. We come into the inner loop. We're going to print I each time it goes through the inner loop. So we get 3 zeros, 3 ones, 3 twos, 3 threes, 3 fours. We could also print J and see what happens. I think it'd be not satisfied with the results I'm seeing. If we put J on the inside, we get, like somebody said, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. Because every time, so it's basically, think of it this way. We're doing the inner loop, the outer loop many times. The whole inner loop runs until it's done, and then it does the outer loop again. So let's see, if I make that an I again, anyone want to guess what happens if we add this here? It's going to... We'll get different lines between each one, right? Yeah, I'm hearing people say it. Thank you. So we do the whole inner loop, which is printing 0, 0, 0, and then we print a new line, and then we go back. This is maybe easier to visualize. Does the whole inner loop, prints a blank line, and then I is the next number. Another thing that's interesting is if we change this and put an I here instead of a 3, and you're going to have problems like this on the AP test, where you have 2 for loops, and the inner one uses the outer one's variable. Like sometimes it'll be int j equals I, and then we count down. But in this case, I'm saying j also starts at 0. We're going to do the inner loop as long as j is less than I. And then, let's see. So we don't get a 0, which makes sense. When I is 0, we come in here, j is 0, and then we're going to do this inner loop as long as j is less than I. And it's not, so it doesn't print any zeros. And then it adds 1. It doesn't add anything to j. It comes back up to I becomes 1 now. And then now we start getting 1, 1, 2, 2s, 3, 3s, 4, 4s. So how do you figure these things out? My advice is get a piece of paper. What I'll do on a piece of paper is, I don't have paper that I could show you, but I would say, okay, this goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'd go over here and say, oh, this is when I is 0, it's not going to do anything. And then when I is 1, I'm going to get, I'll get a 0. And when I is 2, I'll get a 0 and a 1. I mean, my notation isn't important, but scribbling on paper. You're not supposed, no one expects you to look at a problem like this and go, oh, and have the light shine, and have you just pick, oh, the answer is C. So write down things on your paper, and don't be afraid to sketch it out. Because I'll write down, all right, I got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when this is 0, nothing. When this is this, I'm going to get that. When that's that, I'm going to get that. And then I can count. It'll say how many stars are we going to get? And you go, okay, I get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, if that was the problem. This could easily be right here, just a star. And then, if I could just type a star. And then the problem could be how many stars are we going to get? And then you could figure it out. Especially, I mean, we can get rid of this line, and it's how many stars. It's a question on the AP test, and you should be able to figure that out. I mean, not casually, but through